The Zamfara State Governor has ordered the closure of all schools in Zamfara State till further notice. A restriction has also been placed on the vehicles at the local government areas from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., while the curfew is effective in Gusau, the Zamfara State capital, from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. The directives take effect immediately. For his perspective on the latest abduction of students in Zamfara State and what leaders in the northern part of the country are doing to ensure children and youths get formal education, which has been disrupted by the insecurity in the north due to prolonged school closure, we're now being joined by Dr. Hakeem Baba Ahmed, who is Director of Publicity and Advocacy for a socio-political organization, the Northern Elders Forum. Good to have you join us on Newsday, Mr. Hakeem Baba. Dr. Hakeem Baba.
Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. Now, maybe I should go straight into trying to get an update on where we are. Someone said earlier during our newspaper review that perhaps through the back door, Boko Haram are achieving their main objective or their stated objective, which is to prevent children from going to school. Would you say that this is where we are now, where many schools are shut down and even the ones that dare to be open are being subjected to this kind of atrocity?
The situation is worse than even Boko Haram could have wished. We are at war, and a war that we're losing, especially the Northern Front, which is the far north. Banditry has closed down the northern economy. It has closed down agriculture and related services. It has now closing down education. The north is already way behind. And what appears to be happening is that we are becoming more and more restricted to the designs of bandits and kidnappers. This is really tragic. I heard you say in your introduction you're interested in knowing what northern leaders are doing. I have to say very little. We are reacting to what bandits are doing. We're closing down markets. We're closing down highways. We're closing down schools. Bandits have already closed substantial parts of the communities and agriculture. And so literally, the north is being squeezed by bandits. And yes, we are still entirely available to them for whatever they are doing. But education is paying a huge price for what is going on. Our children can't go to school anymore. In the state where we are talking now, I'm speaking to you from Kaduna. Schools have been closed for, I think, the best part of 2 months, entirely. No child goes to school because the government says they are worried that children will be kidnapped. But adults get kidnapped by the day or daily. So children don't get education. Adults live in fear. Now curfews are being imposed in towns and villages. And you just wonder what else is left. This is a war, and I'm using the word war literally and in an informed manner, and we're losing that war.
Doctor, you're saying it's a war, and we're all watching every day or every couple of days as we hear of these kids that are kidnapped, and it's very heartbreaking. But what does this say for a whole generation that won't be able to learn and are traumatized by all these activities? What is to say for them, and what are the leaders maybe even putting in place to do for the children that are going to be affected, obviously, by the trauma of all these activities?
Well, you ask what it means for the children. It's terrible. We're bringing up an entire generation that is either poorly educated or not educated at all. And so you can imagine the impact of that for the future. This is the worst kind of disaster that can befall the North. The leaders, as I said earlier on, are reacting. We're reacting entirely. We don't have our own agenda. Our own agenda, and I'm using, when I say we here, I'm talking about the leaders and the northern community that is victims of these people, is to get rid of these bandits. But we don't appear to have a handle on this. So young people cannot go to school. They stay at home. They get frustrated. Drugs are ravaging our societies beyond what anybody can imagine. Part of that is the side effect of this idleness. And our societies are awash with drugs. The bandits themselves are now substantially consumers of drugs. So the heart of the community, the northern community, is being destroyed. The future of the northern community is being destroyed because its young are not getting educated. Nobody can tell you with any certainty when these schools will be opened. Governors react because they've abducted children. They say, okay, close down schools. Governors react because markets are attacked and communities are attacked. They say, okay, block down this road, block down this highway, stop selling petrol, stop some economic activities. But the question to ask here is until when? Communities that have already paid a huge price for the activities of bandits and kidnappers are now being made to also suffer. It's quite possible that is all the leaders can do, just simply impose limitations and curfews and restrictions. But the damage being done is huge. But the worst one is children who can't go to school. Now we are talking about boarding schools. Day secondary schools are being children are being literally boarded on vehicles and taken away. And this thing has a multiplier effect. The more you see this, the more other places will also say, close down schools. For how long are we going to close down schools? Until when? When does education become available to our young people to next year, the year after that? This is really the worrying question.
Okay, Doctor, I like your frankness, and I can tell from your tone that this is disheartening to you as much as it is for everyone else, maybe more so. But your diagnosis goes along the lines of the situation is worse than Boko Haram could have anticipated. The northern leaders are doing very little. So let's drill down a little further and ask ourselves why. Because President Buhari came in on the mandate that he would deal with this insecurity problem within a matter of months. And here we are, 6 years down the line, and we're looking like we're taking steps backwards. What is it that we're doing wrong? How are we dropping the ball? Is it a matter of the lack of the will? Or what is it? Help us with an understanding.
Well, you have to start with the will. There is weak will behind, maybe there's a desire, but the desire has to be supported by a strong political will to fight. President Buhari, as you said, came to power on the back of a promise to defeat Boko Haram. He hasn't done that. Boko Haram is as potent a threat to the community as maybe even more so now than when he came to power. Now, then you have additional threats, banditry, kidnapping, and related crimes that have ballooned into major industries now. Just think about it. Bandits can take 70, 80, 100 children. They come in motorcycles. Those motorcycles have to be bought. Those motorcycles have to be fueled. They go 3 on a motorcycle. They have the capacity and the intelligence to know where to go, to hit where they want, and to literally take the children to where they want to go. Taking children had spent 80 days in a bush. They've just been released, some of them. There have been hundreds of children that have been kidnapped, and God knows how many more will be kidnapped. So there's weak will to fight this. Even if there's a desire, the will is weak. The defense and security mechanisms that President Buhari met hasn't been improved upon by him. There's no way in the world you can win all these wars just going along with the normal way of doing things. He should have fixed the military, fixed the policing system, fixed the intelligence agencies tremendously, boost their numbers, boost their capabilities, boost their morale, address issues of corruption if they exist in these agencies, and raise the level of competence consistent with the type of threats. He hasn't done that. And we're seeing the price. 2, we should have addressed the manner in which security is provided for citizens of this country. Long before now, we should have asked a question. Should we devolve security issues like policing to states so that states can be held responsible also for securing citizens? Now what you see is that governors tell you, well, gentlemen and ladies, fellow citizens, I'm only chief security officer on paper. I'm not, I don't have a police, I don't have a military, and therefore I cannot protect you. And you have governors literally telling their people, you're on your own, defend yourself. That's how bad things are. So we don't have a coherent policy to deal with the threat. We don't have the institutions and the power and the capabilities to deal with these multiple threats. And we don't appear to be addressing it as a political issue. What can we do to improve the state's responses to these issues? Do we need to devolve policing Do we need to radically improve the quality of our military? What is wrong with our military? What is wrong with the police? They're undermanned, they're under-equipped, they're underpaid, they're under-moraled. And you have a president who is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, and he doesn't appear to want to discuss issues about restructuring and devolution of powers, to allowing state police to exist. He's not interested in radically changing the quality of the military beyond changing their heads after many years of persuasion. And we also are curious to ask what exactly the president plans to do in the light of these multiple threats that daily keep getting worse. And like I said, and I get no pleasure from saying this, that we are losing a war, and we don't appear to have the means to fight back.
Okay, maybe I would just take this up a bit further. Since we're looking at some of the issues that are related to this problem, some would say poverty and even empowerment of the youth. And some governors, specifically in Kebbi State and Kogi State, have boasted that they've been able to get a handle on insecurity due to empowering youths who are impoverished in one way or the other. You spoke of the drug problem. What do you say to this?
Well, obviously, anybody who initiates any form of policy that targets reducing poverty levels, unemployment among the youth, reducing the influx of drugs, I mean, there's no way you can condemn those initiatives. The truth, however, is that this is very, very little. These are not really the people who are taking children away from schools and were stealing people. They serve as informants substantially. Young people now in urban areas and other people are actively serving as informants to kidnappers and bandits. So, as I said, it's an industry that has ballooned to encompass not just the bandit and the kidnapper, but a whole array of people that service this crime and allow it to grow and to grow. You need to fight poverty levels. You need to fight rising inflation. People are finding it extremely difficult to feed. Extremely difficult to feed. This is a fact of life. We are not farming. A large part of the northern farms are not being farmed at all because of fear. Huge numbers of communities have moved away. So if you are going to fight insecurity, you have to fight poverty. But the linkage between poverty and the kind of insecurity we see, principally, for instance, banditry and kidnapping, you need to focus attention on the degree to which it pauperizes more people and therefore make them more vulnerable.
Yes.
There are people who are confronted with a very simple choice: join the bandits or stay poor and die of hunger. And a lot of people join them.
It's really sad. But we seem to have run out of time. Dr. Hakeem Baba Ahmed, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.